So, welcome to my blog, another exciting Gerard Marzilli blog. We're talking about another rehearsal for this Starmind record today. We've actually had two rehearsals since the last time I blogged. The second one was today. And for the second rehearsal that we did, of our three that we've done so far, we, me, Charlotte, Gallagher, Tennyson Stead, and Matthew David McCallum all went out to, drove out to the beach up in like the Zuma Beach area or someplace like that, and we improv the scene which it won't be in the film, but the arrival basically of the Starmind, where we find the character of Dean, who has collapsed and is lying by the side of the road or on the beach, and is now, he's now been taken over by this presence, this entity. And so we had this, the way we did it was Charlotte and I and Tennyson were just kind of standing around and talking, and Dave asked to go off down the beach and kind of just prepare. And when he fell to the ground and started writhing, we would go over there and run over and start the scene. So, we're sitting there hanging out, and Dave falls to the ground and starts writhing. And we run over to start to help him, and the first thing that starts happening is some guy comes over one of the sand dunes and is like, that guy's having a seizure. He's having a seizure. Yeah, that's what's going on right now, because Dave's laying around the ground writhing. He looks like he's having a seizure. And that's kind of compliment as to how well Dave was doing, because, this man really believed that this other guy was in physical danger. So, Tennyson's over there. We're trying to be in the scene and trying to work with this man that we found, and Tennyson's, over there trying to tell the guy, like, look, it's okay, or just trying to motion to him that's gonna be fine. And this guy just won't, give it up. He's like, no, that guy's having a seizure. And then at one point, in the scene itself, in the rehearsal, I realized in character that I had to go and get the car, and that we need to put the character of Dean in the car and get him out of here and get him to some sort of help, wherever that is, because the characters don't know what they're going to do with him yet. And I go run towards my car, run up the sand dune towards the car, and this guy's still like, no, that guy's having a seizure. And I didn't want to get out of the scene, I didn't want to get out of the improv, but I had to stop and tell this poor guy, like, look, it's okay, man, we're actors, we're rehearsing a scene, it's totally fine. And he's just kind of like, oh, okay. And so I ran around and we got the car, and I brought the car around, and then I went down to the beach where Charlotte and Dave were, and Dave's character of the Starmind was now up and walking around and smiling in a really weird and creepy way, which was kind of disturbing. And Charlotte was now, her character was down, the character of Casey was down on the ground drawing galaxies and star maps, and it was I guess there were maps that had been imprinted in her brain due to contact with the alien, with the Starmind, with Dean, which we'll find out more about when you actually see the series. But yeah, so that whole moment of running into something that was just, the only way it can be described as alien, was creepy and weird, and it really informed what Eli's first video was going to look like. Some of you might see that we had a practice video, or like we did a video that we put where Eli, the character of Eli, as the character of Eli, was talking about the first contact with the Starmind on our Kickstarter page, our fundraiser website for when we were raising money to do this project. And having watched that video last night, and having been through this experience, this weird, creepy experience that we acted out, and having that experience running around in the back of my head, is really going to inform in a very different way, in a more richer way, how that eventual actual video from the series, that scene in the piece, is going to play out. So that was very good. I always love rehearsals like that. It's a technique that we've used at work in my job in the theater troupe that I work with for my regular job a couple of times, where it really just, improving those scenes that are talked about in the play or the movie that you're working on, but have not actually happened, but that foreknowledge, that stuff that you need to have, is really a great thing to do, because you can you can come to the peace with that knowledge, with these fake memories in your head that are just as real. So it just helps you fill out the universe better. Today we did a rehearsal where we were trying to we focused more on how we were, as actors, we're going to use the camera. So we're doing a lot of practice with that, and basically somebody would, kind of like what we were doing with Tennyson in the first rehearsal that I described in my last blog, where we were trying to feed and give the Starmind food and drink, and we kind of switched off and took turns, and while one would try to feed the alien, the other would try to use the camera. And at this point we took our knowledge of the line of action and the 180-degree rule, and we kind of taped it down on the camera, and we became more aware of where we could move. Basic film 101, there is a line that you do not cross in your line of action. It's the line of action of what's going on. Say if you are a person who I'm talking to, and this between you and me is our line of action, and you can't go in a 360-degree circle. You can't cut to a shot that is basically the reverse of your action, if that makes any sense. You have like a 180-degree area that you can work with, that you can cut to from this line of action. You can't break that line of action, or else it's going to be jarring and weird. And that's basically what we were practicing today, like knowing where we could be, with the camera, and as actors knowing where to stay in the camera. We tape down the basically the camera is kind of like sight lines, like what the camera could see and what it couldn't see, so we can see when we're going to be on camera and when we're going to be off camera. And so we worked on that, and we had some really great improvs. We improv those two scenes, and then we improv a scene where what would happen next after the beach scene that I just described previously, where we would take Dean out of the car and bring him into the apartment and see what would happen there. And we didn't know what was going to happen, and we got some very exciting and interesting stuff. The great thing about this project is that it's already taking shape right now. We have stuff that is compelling and watchable and very interesting in our rehearsal footage, which is stuff that we're not even going to be using in the finished piece. We may use it for some point as a special feature, or something like that, but it's not stuff that's actually going to be in the film. So that's really nice to know. And as Tennyson was saying, our camera skills, as Charlotte and I and as actors handling the camera, improved pretty quickly. Once we were getting on and doing it, and it's just a good thing to know. I mean, I haven't had to handle the camera really since film school, which was over 10 years ago. So, and there is my DivX telling me that some footage I edited is done converting. Sorry about that. And so that's where we're at right now. So we're very excited, and I think next couple of rehearsals are going to be focusing on buying supplies for Dean, the alien, what kind of clothes we're going to dress him in, and just kind of after that, just rehearsing up to that first episode. And then I think, if I understand correctly, we're going to be rehearsing the first episode proper before we shoot it, and then we'll go and shoot the episode, and from there we will rehearse, then shoot, then release, rehearse, shoot, and release. So we will be releasing these episodes, shooting them in order, shooting the entire piece in order as we release them. And that's intriguing, because that's only something that shooting something in order is something that you rarely get to do in film, and it's something that I've only been able to do once. It was there was a movie I worked on years ago when I was about 21, so talking about like over 10 years ago, that called The Boxman. It was directed by a gentleman named Nick Pasianos, and that whole film wasn't shot in order, but it just so happened that the scenes that I was in were shot in order, and it really kind of helped as the development of the character, because film is so it's so pieced together. A lot of times the first thing to shoot will be the ending, and you haven't had it. It's not like theater; you haven't had a chance to work up to it in order. But we're gonna get a chance to do that with that, and these rehearsals we're having are definitely gonna make us very comfortable with the characters and the process and the evolution of what's going on, but before we even start shooting. And the third great point to mention is that we now have a shooting space. Tennyson, Stead, myself, and Daniel Haggerty have now secured an apartment in North Hollywood that we will be able to live in and shoot in. So we now actually have our main location for a lot of the piece. So that's pretty awesome. So anyway, that's progress so far. So I will be posting further video blogs as it goes along on the making of the Starmind record. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you